Hello, test, test, test. Am I live? Hello. Okay, I think we're live. Let me just wait a little bit. Okay, seems like we are going live. So there's the chat. It's pretty late right now, but it's still really, really warm. So that's why I don't actually have a shirt on. I don't hope that anyone who has come to this page minds that. So today we're going to be reading about fruits. And I kind of looked into the sutta of today, and I think that, let's see how far we got. Oh, that's maybe a little bit too far. So last time we just ended off reading the Brahmajala Sutta, right? The supreme net, or the incomparable victory in battle. And so the next one, if we were to just go right to the next one, would be the Sammanapala Sutta, the fruits of the homeless life. And this sutta this is a great sutta, but it is also a very kind of hard to study sutta. It's not something for most. It's about kings and the questions of a king. And we're going to have to save this one for maybe next time, because what we're going to be doing today, that was the whole thing. This, apparently my book just lands here. I could try it, and if I could show you. Maybe by now that I have been looking at it a little bit, I've helped it. But before, I was just like, I was going like this. Come on, book. Let's see it. Okay, that's where we are. Look. And so, I read a little bit of this, and this actually looks pretty interesting. Not that the other one is not interesting, I just think it's a little bit heavy lifting for our little study group here at this time. Nevertheless, the sutta study could still be about fruits. So, this one is going to be reading the Mahali Sutta about Mahali, heavenly sights, body, or soul and body. And why is this interesting? Because it has soul in it, right? Something you might not, I didn't expect to find. It's not a word often used, or ever probably maybe even so used by the Buddha in the way mostly we understand it, because maybe of our Christian background or other preconceptions. So we're going to be reading through this sutta. I don't know how far we're going to be going today, because it is pretty late and it is actually really warm still. Just like this, I might even, from just holding the book, start to get sweaty hands. Let's see. But I think it's a good time during this moment of the morning or the night, that the last night's watch. I guess that it must be. So, before we read, let's do homage to the Buddha, and let me get my smart little bookmark here. Put it like that, and do homage to the Buddha. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the rightly self-awakened one. Or the perfectly self-awakened one, which I also like to use because of our present Buddha Gautama's enlightenment was a perfect liberation, unprovoked. So it is a good word to use for our present Buddha. And also, make sure to go back to the next part of the previous Sutta study where we took refuge in the Buddha. Okay, let's see if the book can show me where we are here. See, it did it again. Okay, here we go. Reading. I'm actually looking very much forward also to read this. I don't think I've ever read this sutta before. So here we go. I hope you're all just sitting comfortable and getting ready to listen and maybe even meditating. That'd be cool. Okay, so the Mahali Sutta, about Mahali. And obviously I'm gonna have to stop rocking back and forth on this chair. Thus have I heard. Once the Blessed Lord was staying at Visali, at the gabled hall in the great forest. And at that time a large number of Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and the Makada were staying at Visali on some business. And they heard say, the ascetic Gautama, son of the Sakyans, who has gone forth from the Sakyan clan, is staying at Visali, at the gabled hall in the great forest. And concerning that blessed Lord, a good report has been spread about. This blessed Lord is an Arahant, a fully enlightened Buddha, perfected in knowledge and conduct. So there we have the word again, perfected in knowledge and conduct, which was a specific trait, not a trademark, but a trait of the enlightenment of our present Buddha. Kind of a trademark that helps you to understand. Perfected in knowledge and conduct. A welfare knower of all worlds, unequaled trainer of men to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, a Buddha, a blessed Lord. He proclaims this world with its gods, Maras and Brahmas, a world of ascetics and Brahmins, with its princes and people, having come to know it by his own knowledge. He teaches a Dhamma that is lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in its ending, in the spirit and in the letter. And he displays the fully perfected, thoroughly purified holy life. And indeed is good to see such Arahants. And indeed it is good to see such Arahants. Indeed so. And so, these Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and Magadha went to the great forest, to the gabled hall. At that time, the Venerable Nagita was the Lord's personal attendant. So they approached the Venerable Nagita and said, Reverend Nagita, where is the Reverend Gautama now staying? We would like to see him. Friends, it is not the right time to see the Lord. He is in solitary meditation, but the Brahmins just sat down to one side and said, "When we have seen the Lord Gautama, we will go." Just then, Uttatta, interesting name. Just then, Uttatta, the Lichawi, came to the cabled hall. With a large company, saluted the venerable Nikita and stood aside, saying, "Where is the blessed Lord staying, the Arhat, the fully enlightened Buddha? We would like to see him." Okay, so we're gonna have to read these footnotes as well, because that's our good habit. So 179. Guess I will have to turn a few pages from where we left off. No, okay, that's a long one, 178. Okay. So it's a footnote to a family name. Mahali. It is not the right time to see the Lord. He is in solitary meditation. But Uttatta, just sat down to one side and said, "When I have seen the Lord, the blessed Lord, the Arahant, the fully enlightened Buddha, I will go." Okay, let's read the footnote on his name. Mahali. This is his family name or surname, Gutta, as Gautama was the Buddha's. In a note on names explained, Chris Davis in a note on, or RD, in a note on names explained that this is a polite form of address, remotely comparable to the now perhaps obsolete English public school use of surnames. Wow. It's a little bit of a heavy book. Let me just... I wasn't actually sweaty, but it feels like I am sweaty, which is weird. Okay. So all these guys, they just want to go see the Buddha, but the Buddha is in solitary meditation, and they're just like, "Yeah, well, we're gonna just stay here until we get to see the Buddha, okay?" And so we're gonna have to see how it all turns out. Okay? It's an interesting beginning to the sutta so far. Then the novice Siha, 180, footnote. A very gifted young man whose judgment was clearly respected by his seniors. Wow. And he even got a footnote. Respect to the novice Siha. For that's an accomplishment. Then the novice Siha came to the venerable Nagita, stood aside and said, "Venerable Kassapa, these many Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and Makata have come here to see the Lord, and Uttatta, the Lichawi, too, has come with a large company to see the Lord. It would be well, Venerable Kassapa, to allow these people to see him." "Well then, Siha, you announced them to the Lord." "Yes, Venerable Sir," said Siha. And we also had a footnote on Kassapa, the Venerable Kassapa, who does not need an introduction in our little study group, hopefully. I'm just joking. Okay, so this was Nagita's family name. Interesting. The Venerable Kassapa. Nagita Kassapa. So let's see how for you. So let me explain what's happening here. The Venerable Nagita. Okay, the Venerable Nagita stood. Oh wow. The novice Siha came to the Venerable Nagita and stood aside and said, Venerable Kassapa. So he used the Venerable Nagita's surname, I guess, which is also the Venerable Kassapa, Mahakassapa. Is also known as the father of the Sangha. And I'm still not sweating. So he should not need an introduction, even just by, Kassapa. Also we have the Buddha Kassapa, who also does not need an introduction. Anyway, I think we're getting a little off track. Okay, so Siha got them all to see the Lord. And here we go. Then he went to the Lord, saluted him, stood aside, and said, Lord, these Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and Magadha have come here to see the Lord, and Uttada the Lichavi, likewise with a large 152 company. It would be well if the Lord were to let these people see him. Then Siha, prepare a seat in the shade of this dwelling. Yes, Lord, said Siha, and did so. Then the Lord came out of his dwelling place and sat down on the prepared seat. A seat asawa, or a dwelling, like we have a study of the Arya Vasa, the dwelling of the Aryas. So I was thinking about fruits of the homeless life, which is fruits of not having a dwelling or abiding, but gaining another kind of dwelling, or a true abiding, so to speak. And that's also actually why we're reading this sutta and not fruits of the homeless life right now, which I hope will make sense a little bit later. And you don't actually have to read the Nikayas from one end to the other, just for anyone interested in going through it for themselves. So the Lord sat down on the prepared seat. The Brahmins approached the Lord. Having exchanged courtesies with him, they sat down to one side, but Uttada did obeisance to the Lord, and then sat down to one side, saying, Lord, not long ago, Sunyakatta Lalitjavi, which is a kind of a clan, 182. Yeah, it's just a reference for more. It's not really an important footnote in this assembly. Sunyakatta Lilichavi came to me and said, and this was Uttata saying to the Lord, Sunyata Lilichavi came to me and said, soon I shall have seen a flower of the Lord for 3 years. Oh, right. Sorry. Soon I shall have been a follower. Seen a flower for 3 years. Can you believe that? Okay, soon. I lost it. Soon I shall have been a follower of the Lord for 3 years. I've seen heavenly sights, pleasant, delightful, enticing, but I have not heard any heavenly sounds that were pleasant, delightful, enticing. Lord, are there any such heavenly sounds which Sunyakata cannot hear, or are there not? There are such sounds, Mahali. So here we have a guy who has seen heavenly sights, but has not heard heavenly sounds. Then, Lord, what is the reason, what is the cause, why Sunyakata cannot hear them? Mahali. In one case, a monk facing east goes into one-sided samadhi and sees heavenly sights, pleasant, delightful, enticing, but does not hear heavenly sounds. We have a footnote 183, and I think I finally broke a sweat, guys. Let me check up on it. For a particular type of concentration. So this is for someone who goes into a one-sided samadhi, not exerting himself seemingly enough, being lazy, studying in the middle of the night when it's actually bearable to sit with heavy books in an upright position. Continuing on. By means of this one-sided samadhi, he sees heavenly sights, but does not hear heavenly sounds. Why is this? Because this samadhi only leads to the seeing of heavenly sights, but not to the hearing of heavenly sounds. Again, monks. A monk facing south, west, north goes into one-sided samadhi, and facing upwards, downwards, or across, sees heavenly sights in that direction, but does not hear heavenly sounds. Why is this? Because this samadhi only leads to the seeing of heavenly sights, but not to the hearing of heavenly sounds. Mic check. In another case, Mahali, a monk facing east hears heavenly sounds but does not see heavenly sights. Again, a monk facing south, west, north, facing upwards, downwards, or across, hears heavenly sounds but does not see heavenly sights. East. In another case, Mahali, a monk facing east goes into two-sided samadhi, and both sees heavenly sights, pleasant, delightful, enticing, and hears heavenly sounds. Why is this? Because this two-sided samadhi leads to both seeing of heavenly sights and hearing of heavenly sounds. Again, a monk facing south, west, north, facing upwards, downwards, or across, sees heavenly sights and hears heavenly sounds. And that is the reason why Sunyagata comes to see the heavenly sights, but not to hear the heavenly sounds. 184, with the footnote. The intolerably labored repetition concerning a relatively unimportant matter is noteworthy, even in a style given to much repetition. This may be symptomatic of a late date for the sutta. Interesting. So this footnote argues about this approach as being, wow, I can't think about that right now. Okay, so here we are. Well, Lord, is it for the realization of such samadhi states? Samadhi means concentration mostly, or not really an absorption so much. Is it for the realization of such samadhi states that the monks lead the holy life under the blessed Lord? And this is now that it is getting really interesting. And why is it interesting now? Because this guy wants to know about the homeless life, right? And he doesn't understand why monks lead the holy life. And that's something very hard to understand when probably very few have seen for themselves the end of the path and the fruit of the path, nonetheless. So this guy wants to know, why would they go to the homeless life? Why not stay in the household life instead? There seems to be much heavenly pleasures and such things. And so now we get to hear the Buddha's answer. Well, Lord, is it for the realization of such samadhi states that the monks lead the holy life under the blessed Lord? No, Mahali, there are other things higher and more perfect than these, for the sake of which monks lead the holy life under me. What are they, Lord? Mahali, in one case, a monk having abandoned 3 fetters becomes a stream winner, not liable to states of woe, firmly set on the path to enlightenment. Again, a monk who has abandoned the 3 fetters and has reduced his greed, hatred and delusion, becomes a once returner, who, having returned to this world once more, will make an end to all suffering. Again, a monk who has abandoned the 5 lower fetters takes a spontaneous rebirth in the higher sphere, and without returning from that world gains enlightenment. And we have the footnote 185 on spontaneous rebirth. What does that mean? So they do not come back in to this human state. 185 Upapatika, here in the specific sense of a non-returner, anagami. Yeah, so this is kind of a god. They just become a god. An anagami, which is actually enlightened, almost like not trying to compare, but put it into try and understand, an anagami is almost equal to an arahant, which is almost equal to a Buddha, which is almost equal to a Samma Sambuddha, our present Buddha Gautama. Wow. And without returning from that world, gains enlightenment. Again, a monk, through the extinction of the corruptions, reaches in this very life the uncorrupted deliverance of mind, the deliverance through wisdom, which he has realized by his own insight. That is another thing higher and more perfect than these, for the sake of which monks lead the whole life under me. Lord, is there a path? Is there a method for the realization of these things? There is a path, Mahali. There is a method. And Lord, what is this path? What is this method? Let me just get a little bit of tea. It is the Noble Eightfold Path, namely right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is the path. This is the way to the realization of these things. Once, Mahali, I was staying at Kosambi in the Gonsita Park, and two wanderers, Mandisa and Jalia, the pupil of the wooden bowl ascetic, came to me, exchanged courtesies with me, and sat down to one side. Then they said, "How is it, friend Gautama? Is the soul the same as the body? Or is the soul one thing and the body another?" And we have a footnote, 186. Jiwang, life principle. So that's probably the best word, life principle, in the sense of the Pali system, where soul, in the way of Western thought, does not really arise in the same way as we think of it. Excuse me. As we go along. Well now, friends. Okay, let's have that question again about the soul, or the life principle. Then they said, "How is it, friend Gautama? Is the soul the same as the body, or is the soul one thing and the body another?" Well now, friends, you listen, pay proper attention, and I will explain. Yes, friend. They said, and I went on. That's an interesting translation here, and I went on. Friends, a Tathagata arises in the world, an arahant, fully enlightened Buddha, endowed with wisdom and conduct, wayfarer, knower of all the worlds, incomparable trainer of men to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened and blessed, He, having realized it by his own super-knowledge, proclaims this world with its devas, maras, and brahmas, its princes and people. He preaches the Dhamma, which is lovely in its beginning, lovely in its middle, lovely in its ending, in the spirit and in the letter, and displays the fully perfected and purified holy life. A disciple goes forth and practices the moralities. Sutta 2, verses 41 to 63. On account of his morality, he sees no danger anywhere. So he's protected by sila. He experiences in himself the blameless bliss that comes from maintaining this Aryan morality. This is mind-blowing stuff, guys. Because now we're going into, as I was talking about just earlier when I said about the abodes or the abidings, the asava. The Aryavasa is the abiding of the Aryas, in which a multitude of beings seem to appear like not a village, more like a world system. And that's the Aryan abode. And why is this important? Because I was jumping away from Sutta number 2 to Sutta number 6. And Sutta number 2 was fruits of the homeless life. Or homeless means, it can also, homeless means in a worldly sense having a home, as for example a meditation hall or sitting under a tree having protection. That is not the level of thought we're at here. Here this means a dwelling in which the mind is guarded by morality, as explained here. And in guarding in this way as taught by the Blessed Lord Buddha, this is called Aryan morality or noble morality, sila, right action. It's called doing right. Okay, so much for that. He experiences in himself the blameless bliss that comes from maintaining this Aryan morality. In this way, he is perfected in morality, as Sutta 2, verses 64 to 74. So now this sutta is actually referencing Sutta 2, which is the one I veered away from, because I wanted to point this out. I didn't know this would actually be pointed out by the Blessed Lord himself in the sutta. So much for that. Please consider that in my guidance through this sutta. And so continuing on, I think it's nice to find that they're actually referencing Sutta number 2 in regards to more perfected morality. Would be interesting to see if we're gonna, on the half page that's left, hear about how a dwelling is defined. Anyway, it is as if he were freed from debt, from sickness, from bonds, from slavery, from the perils of the desert, being thus detached from sense desires, detached from unwholesome states, he enters and remains in the first jhana, and so suffuses, drenches, fills and irradiates his body, that there is no spot in his entire body that is untouched by this delight and joy, born of detachment. Oh yes, that word detachment. Detachment. Solitude is kind of an image for detachment, apparently in my mind. Now, one... Oh, wait a minute. Now, of one who thus knows and thus sees, is it proper to say, the soul is the same as the body, or the soul is different from the body? It is not, friend. It is not. With the footnote 187. It is. You should read the footnote which says it is, friend. Okay, so attaining to the jhana, the Buddha is here saying, is not the same as the soul. So someone who is in the jhana, that is not the same as to say that is the soul. It is not, friend. But I thus know and see, and I do not say that the soul is either the same as or different from the body. So the Buddha doesn't actually say that the Buddha is the same, or I'm sorry, that the soul is the same, or is not the same as the body. And I don't want to speculate as to why, but from my own first thought, it is that is not in the teachings of the Buddha. I mean, the Buddha knows a quadrillion billion things that he did not teach. Why so? Because the Buddha taught only for people, gods and men, for them to be free from suffering and reach enlightenment and come to see the Dhamma. That's the Buddha for you. But I don't know if that's why the Buddha won't answer this. And I'm not pretending right now to say that's why. But that's why I don't think further about it for myself, because I have other means of investigation to go and see for myself than to speculate in this case. So, but I thus now know and see, and I do not say that the soul is either the same as or different from the body, and the same with the second and the third and the fourth jhana. It's interesting, for someone who's in the jhanas, I think they're pretty much invincible. Not in the sense of never being able to fall to hell, but in the sense of being outside, or it's still really, worldly absorption, since it's not linked with enlightenment. And he's not even talking about the stages of enlightenment like we had the anagami before. So this is not actually what is meant here by the third, because the third jhana is not equal to an anagami who is almost perfectly enlightened. And so the Buddha goes, and the same with the second and the third, the fourth jhana. Continuing on, the mind bends and tends towards knowledge and vision. Now, of one who thus knows and thus sees, is it proper to say, the soul is the same as the body, or the soul is different from the body? It is not, friend. He knows. There is nothing further here. Now, of one who thus knows and thus sees, is it proper to say, the soul is the same as the body, or the soul is different from the body? It is not, friend. But I thus know and see, and I do not say that the soul is either the same as or different from the body. Thus the Lord Buddha spoke, and Uttata, the Lichavi, rejoiced at his words. And that is the Sutta of heavenly sights, soul and body. So the Buddha doesn't actually even, in this case, comment on, is there a soul? Is there not a soul? And he doesn't reject the existence of a soul either. What happens is, the Buddha says that the first, second, third, and fourth jhana, for one who has also seen these jhanas for themselves, the Buddha does not say either that they have seen their soul, nor that they have not seen their soul. In either case, it is safe to say that none of these are enlightened beings. Even Sotapanna, the first stage of enlightenment, they have given up the misconception of an identity or a self or atta or higher self, or the concept of a soul inhabiting or observing or existing. A Sotapanna, someone who is enlightened, doesn't have this in them. They might have, habits if they had been in another religion before entering the Sangha. They might have habits in which cause their minds to return to those inclinations of thought. But when the mind becomes enlightened, it separates in its reaction. So it doesn't actually have anything to do with the old habits. The new mind of the enlightened being looking back would be able to investigate how this enlightened mind perceives and understands in a new way, in which he or she previously would not be able to have comprehended or come to understand, since they had not before had a chance, really, or the opportunity. They had not put themselves in the right they had not put forth the right effort. They had not put out persistence and exertion in what is to be done and what is not to be done. And that's the end of that. So from this we can say that indeed a home is not a dwelling in which one could gain or run to for security. But coming to see this Nibbana, coming to find this noble eightfold path, Lord, is there a path? Is there a method for the realization of these things? There is a path, Mahali. There is a method. And as we read through, someone who takes up this path and makes much of it, he or she will never fall into any state of woe. And so, I think we're ready to go back to Sutta number 2. Where we're gonna be returning off next time, fruits of the homeless life. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Jumping a little bit forth to Sutta number 6 about heavenly sights and the soul and the body. And with that, remember to keep meditating and stay mindful in your daily life from a moment to moment basis, and keep striving. Keep purifying the mind by gaining moments of clarity, knowing things as they are, without pushing them away or pulling them, or being careless and, lazy and overseeing or overlooking things by being lazy. So yeah, keep meditating, keep studying, and investigate your own mind, so that you too, as all of these beings in the Buddha Sasana, have come to realize the truth for themselves and gained the incomparable victory in the battle. True assurance from falling into any state of woe ever again. May we become such a one, since the path exists and the method exists, and we have made it known by our investigation into the Dhamma. And also, if you want to investigate or study more about what I was talking about, the dwellings, or the Arya Vasa, in which the abode of the Aryas, then you could go and look the Arya Vasa study up, which is already on my YouTube from last year, I think, maybe a couple of years ago. An awesome study of a talk given by the Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw called the Arya Vasa Sutta. And so, let's pay homage to the Blessed Lord Buddha, and let's be on our way to start the day, I guess. It's almost morning here now, so that's nice, going through Dhamma study all through the night, which is actually just, very, very normal for me and a big part of my life and something I've been doing for years. So the new thing is that apparently you are here, all of you guys, and so I'm very happy and thankful for anyone who has taken the time to watch all of this video and come to the end where we are now. And we should do homage to the Buddha, and then we should say peace to each other and have well wishes, and we can go away and meditate. Walking meditation, sitting meditation, lying meditation. Is there any other forms of meditation? Standing meditation. All of those four And then I will see you the next time. Peace. Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the perfectly self-enlightened one. Okay, peace.